You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast. Of course, now we have a Pats Nation Postgame Show for you once again. And the Patriots lost again at home, shockingly, to the Miami Dolphins. The Patriots, probably the worst team in the league right now. Just an awful, dreadful, awful game at Gillette today. The weather was beautiful out, thank God. But holy crap, the rest of the game was just absolutely terrible.
I think the thing that I was most struck by in today's game was that the Patriots looked bad, but they also looked kind of like we expected them to look. And I wasn't surprised that Miami's offense looked bad because, we know what's going on there without Tua and what that has turned into. Miami's defense didn't really impress me, and their special teams were abysmal. And this was a team that was they thought they were a contender this year. And I get they've got some injuries too, but their special teams being as bad as they were, in some ways that was my first takeaway. It's just how did they consider themselves a contender? The special teams battle was horrendous on all parts and it looked like two teams that expected to be at the bottom of the league. That was
Miami is
artistic, I think is the best way I would describe the special teams today.
Yeah, Miami's just next level bad. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on with Miami. I know that Tua is hurt. I get that, but you're supposed to be a good team.
That doesn't explain all of this. That doesn't explain the rest of everything falling apart.
Right. And, I don't know. It's frustrating. Also, James says, I pinned all those badges directly onto my chest just to feel something tonight. Honestly, you're not far from the truth there, sir. It was a hard game to watch. The Patriots just suck. I mean, they're just so bad. I mean, I think what that sequence in second quarter, third quarter, when they blocked the punt and they got the ball at the 23-yard line, they picked up 29 yards and got stopped at the 14-yard line and missed the 33-yard field goal. It's just
that kind of day.
It's wait, what? What do you mean? They picked up 29 yards from the 23 and they were at the 14. And it's and listen, I will say I didn't like all of those calls. There were a few calls that I was kind of that doesn't really look like holding or, really wasn't a good call. But they had 12 accepted penalties. Anytime you have more accepted penalties than points, things didn't go well for you. Yeah. Right. And, and they had a few that the Miami did not take as well. And so, it was really, really bad. And it was on all three sides of the ball.
Yeah. I will say, I thought there was some, silver linings to this game in that, the offense was bad in a different way.
Yes.
One of the biggest storylines offensively coming into this game, we found out, 90 minutes beforehand, not even 60 minutes beforehand, as a whole different offensive line. Everybody's in new spots. They had left tackle Vidarian Lowe, Michael Jordan, healthy. He's at left guard, Nick Leverett at center, Michael Wenu moving back inside to right guard, and then they're trying DeMontre Jacobs at right tackle. I think this is, I think the most important development for me out of this game is I think they found a group of 5 offensive linemen that works.
Yeah.
The pressure numbers still aren't good. It's still over 50% for pressure rate. That was the initial next-gen stats number. I want to look at some of the PFF numbers and go through the film myself because it didn't feel like the line was that bad watching it.
No.
They were able to move the ball on the ground when they wanted to. Penalties were the issue, especially offensive line and blocking in general. Ramondre Stevenson got one for holding in pass pro that was definitely earned. But like, if they can clean up the penalties, this I think is their best offensive line grouping that we have seen so far. You might see a tweak at center because Nick Leverett was the obvious weak spot there. At one point, the offensive line had allowed 7 pressures, and all 7 of them were up the middle on Leverett, which is not great.
Yikes!
But if it's only on him, if you can either work with him, get things better, or they have Brian Hudson, who's on the practice squad, who is their backup center at this point. If you can get somebody to be decent there, this is one of the things you needed to put Drake May in. And like, the reason the Patriots didn't win this game, it was dumb mental errors, but like the kinds of dumb mental errors that I think you can improve upon. Like, it wasn't, I don't know if it was as much a talent thing as it was just like, all right, too many penalties, you miss a field goal, you should have had a game-winning touchdown, and you can't get both feet in bounds. You do one, like if Sly hits that field goal after the block punt, you're just kicking a field goal at the end of the game.
Right.
You're probably going to win it right there. I thought they didn't have the same kind of catastrophic errors the Dolphins did. The Dolphins turned the ball over twice, you get a block punt, missed field goal there too. So they didn't have those catastrophic errors, but there were just like enough little detail things. And I think it remains to be seen if that's a coaching thing, a talent thing, or some combination. But I actually felt kind of optimistic coming out of this that, at least it feels like they have something they can build with. Yeah, it sucks they lost. Yeah, it wasn't pretty. Yeah, it was ugly. But offensively, they actually had something that they can build off of that we haven't really had since week 1.
Well, I think the biggest thing for me, right? Honestly, the 100% biggest thing for me is that you can't start Drake May until you feel okay about the offensive line, right? We know this. We've talked about this. We've gone over it and over and over, right? And so if you look at your offensive line right now and you think, you know what? That's not that bad. We can work with it. Not that it's going to be good. Not that it's great. But we can work with it. Then I think you can put the kid out there, right? I thought the line was better. It's not going to be great, and that's okay. It's not going to be great, but I think it was better. And I think when you see May come out and play well, or I think when you see May come out and play, that it's going to elevate the offense. And so, maybe Hudson's the answer at center. I don't know. I just feel like at a certain point, you have to put Drake May out there. At a certain point, you got to put Drake May out there.
I think we're close now.
And honestly, for me, here's the biggest thing for me. And we could talk about, the whole game. And there was one play in particular where, like, Pop's running across the field, and he's running all the way across the field. All he has to do is clear the linebacker. As soon as he clears the linebacker, there's not a soul outside the linebacker. So he's going to catch the ball and run for 30 yards. I mean, it was obvious. Everyone in the world could see it.
At a minimum, it's an easy first down, even if somehow he does get tackled right.
Correct. Brissett's looking at him. He's looking at him, watching him run across the field. He can see the linebacker's the only guy there. Even if the linebacker's like, oh, crap, there's no one there, I better run with him. He's still faster than a linebacker.
Yeah.
And the backer stands there. He runs by him. He throws to someone else. And it's like, what are you doing? So that play number 1, there were way more plays than that. And then at the end of the game, there's 12 seconds left to go in the game, Jacoby Brissett. There's 12 seconds left to go in the game. If you don't throw the ball into the end zone or at the sideline, the game is over.
Yeah.
You know this. You know that. Like, I know that. The Mighty Mites, 7-year-old quarterback playing knows that. Everyone in the world knows that. and you throw the ball to triple covered Hunter Henry at the 10-yard line. What the hell are you doing? The game is over. You lose the game. And so that becomes an issue where you say, well, yeah, okay, maybe he couldn't get it in. Maybe he didn't feel good. Then throw it away. It doesn't matter. If there's only one playoff, so what? Because you lose the game if he catches that ball. It was just like it made no sense because you know the game's over in that situation. And so you lose the game for your team because you're trying to what? Like, oh, hey, you went over 150 yards passing for the first time. Great. Good for you. Nobody cares we lost the game because of that. And again, we didn't lose the game because of that. But the game's over when you do that. And it's just, that's so frustrating.
Yeah. When you go back a series, I think we're probably going to get into the play calling on the last drive. But forget that. It's 2nd and 10. You call a pass. I love the play call from AVP here to get Polk one-on-one with a linebacker where he looks like he's going to sit down over the middle of the field. Then he just slips right behind him into the end zone. That is a touchdown if he throws that 1 yard shorter. There's no reason that Polk should have to jump for that football. He is wide open in the end zone, tosses a little bit shorter. He doesn't have to jump. His feet are clearly going to be in then.
Right.
And you take the lead and, hope your defense can hold on to it. But, I thought, this is a rough day for Brissett. And the offensive line's gotten a little bit better, and I think more importantly, you have a group that you can work with. This is the first time they've put 5 guys out there where it's like, all right, I want to see those 5 guys again next week. Nobody limped off the field in this one. Everybody's healthy. Let's get a full week of practice with these 5 guys. See if they look better next week than they look this week, and then just go from there. And you hope you can build off of it because I think if you want to take the conservative approach with Drake May, you want to see an offensive line go out there and be good and improve and then put him in. That means you can do that. You can see how the line looks after next week and maybe put him in for the London game, maybe put him in for the Jets game, something like that, depending on how they look, assuming there's some kind of growth and it's not, you're not going right back to the drawing board right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I love Brissett. He's a great leader. He's a tough dude. The captain for a reason.
Right.
Yeah. There was another play, another 3rd down where they had, I think with man coverage, and they were running just like a mesh concept. So it's where you have the receivers all just kind of crossing in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And Brissett just drops back and immediately throws it into the right flat to Ramondre Stevenson. There's 3 defenders over there, and I think he got tackled for a loss. And it was like, you never read it out. Offensive line protected perfectly. You didn't look at any of your receivers to see if anyone was going to be open. You're just immediately throwing it to the running back in the flat. And, it's tough to develop your receivers when your quarterback's just not really giving them quality chances down the field.
Right. And that's honestly, man, I'm all set. I'm all set with this. It's so frustrating. And, again, Brissett is in there. Obviously, you want May to, to grow and to get ready. But he's also in there because he's a veteran. And you trust him to make at least some good reads, at least some plays, give the take what the Patriots is given. And unfortunately, this year they're not doing that. And it's incredibly frustrating. And so you say, well, okay, if he's not making good veteran decisions and he can't push the ball down the field and he's not super accurate and he's not, why the hell is he out there?
The only other thing is meat shield. That's the only other job you can have.
That's literally why he's out there, right? Because we don't want Drake May to get hurt. And it's like that is just such a terrible reason to not start Drake May. And again, and listen, I know that Evan Lazar got into some hot water for the things that he said. But I'm telling you, I've said this before. I've been saying it for weeks. At a certain point, the rest of the team is going to look at this and say, we can't play like this anymore. We have a quarterback on the roster that's better than Jacoby Brissett. He's sitting right here. And look, maybe, he's not ready yet. I don't give a shit if he's ready yet or not. I'm out there busting my ass every day. And he's not going to play because he's not ready? No. Let him figure it out. Because he gives us a chance. And those are the things for me that frustrate me when I look at it. And again, that's what's going to happen. At some point, the rest of the team's going to say, I'm not doing this anymore. And you can't let that happen. No. And if we're not there yet, we're getting awfully close, because I'll tell you what, Jacoby Brissett stinks, and everyone in the world can see it.
Yeah. And it's, we're in, I expect we're going to see Drake May by the end of the month. I think I'd be pretty shocked if we don't. Yeah. And if we don't, it'll be the first game in November. The pressure's on now. The clock is counting down. It's just a matter of time.
Right.
And everybody knows it. By the way, the Evan Lazar comments, I just wanted to chime in on this real quick. Listening to the podcast live, it sounded like, for anybody who doesn't know, he mentioned that he thought it was like the verge of a mutiny in the locker room after the San Francisco game. It was like at the end of a long rant. And if you know Evan Lazar, sometimes when he gets going on something, he just goes all the way in on it, and he isn't afraid to use a little hyperbole, which I love. It makes him a very entertaining listen. I'm pretty sure that's what happened there. 100%. And he realized very quickly after he said it that it came across not the way he was intending. I don't think he meant a literal mutiny. I think he meant everybody's mad in the locker room. And it was a very different thing. So, I don't think Jonathan Kraft is calling down to have a one sentence edited out of a Patriots podcast like some people have insinuated. I think Evan said something that was phrased the way he regretted and didn't want to spin out of control.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately that's what happens, right? And when you work for the Patriots, that's challenging, right? It's challenging. Now, listen, here's the thing about the defense, okay? The defense allowed 20 points today. Or 15 points. I'm sorry. The defense allowed 15 points today. 3 field goals. I know they missed 2 others. 3 field goals and 1 touchdown. Okay. I know Miami's offense is terrible. I get it. They're awful. Sure. Fine. Okay. But, the hard thing for me is that I'm simply not going to look at it and say the defense played bad today. Okay? They played okay. They didn't play great. They played okay.
Yeah. I think they played to their talent level is how I would call it.
And this is really the issue, right? You're missing the guys that have been your 2 best players all year long. They're both out.
Yeah.
Juwan Bentley, and listen, people don't realize how good Juwan Bentley is. Juwan Bentley is the linchpin of this defense. And he's out for the year. That's not good. Your defense is going to really struggle without him in there. Because I'll tell you right now, Raekwon Williams, fine. He's fine.
Fine might be a little much.
But he's not.
He was rough today.
He can't play the run. He can't. He simply cannot play the run.
He bites on the first thing he sees.
Oh, it's brutal. I swear to God.
When the play comes to him, but when it's not.
I swear to God, that stupid freaking fake toss throw over the middle is wide open. Every single time was wide open. Every time. They all went for it. The backside linebacker, they're faking the toss to the left. The defensive left linebacker on the other side is running downhill. And then it's wide open for a slant behind him. That should have been an easy interception. And they did it like 4 times. Drove me insane. McMillan can't play the run. Tavai has gotten worse against the pass somehow.
He's getting put in a lot of tough spots right now with no Bentley, and the safety is not there.
Yeah, but he's still. But man, I'll tell you they ran a really nice play. They ran like a kind of like a screen pass almost, where they had the running back and the wide receiver stand next to each other. They threw the wide receiver. The running back came over and blocked Mapu. and Tavai just stood there.
Oh yeah, he never.
That was
Because
bad.
when they showed it on the replay, he was looking for like a switch or something. So he went and looked for the quarterback throwing the ball when he came out of his break, and at that point the guy was already behind him. So,
Right.
yeah,
It
just
was
a
bad.
tough,
It was bad.
slow on it. Yeah,
And I'm just not gonna like. So unfortunately, that's what you're dealing with. Marte Mapo, I thought looked good today. Like I thought he was a bright spot for the Patriots today.
this is his first game of his second year, and he had the
Yes.
green dot. He's the one calling all the plays and giving the signals for your defense.
Yeah.
And then I know
And he
they've called
played.
him a coach in the meeting rooms, but like,
Mhm.
damn, that
Yeah.
is impressive to do that
Right.
this young in your career.
He played safety. He played linebacker. His physicality and athleticism, to me, were on display. I was thoroughly impressed with what I saw with Mapu.
Yeah, I think
Del Pettis was fine, but like, it's tough. I mean, you're stepping in a role where you're asked to play safety, and you're an undrafted free agent. Like, it's hard, unfortunately.
Pettis is fine for what he is. He's just being put into a big role because of injuries, and that happens.
Right.
Hawkins has been fine to me. I didn't really notice him, but I now that like once guys get healthy, I kind of want to see Duggar, Peppers, Pettis, and Mapu as the safety and force defender and like those roles right there. And I don't know how much of like I think we're going to see Mapu play in the box a lot as a safety in the box.
Yeah, which is what I want him to do.
I think that's perfect because then from there he can do that, but you can still put him on the field and occasionally have him drop deeper into coverages, and it's not a concern with him because he has the speed to do it. So that makes him versatile. Really, really impressed with him. It's just the weak spot of the defense was the running game. This is my concern with them is they gave up a lot of yards on the ground. Yeah. To an offensive line that hasn't been very good. And it seemed to be a conditioning issue. They got a lot worse as the game went along.
Sure did.
What happened to take them to the hill from week one? The conditioning of this team needs to get better because this has been a noticeable issue. And that, and it's, you're missing the whole spine of your defense right now. So the run defense is going to be tough, but I want to see somebody step up next to Godshaw as a run defender and somebody step up next to Tavai as a linebacker because those spots aren't getting filled this year. It's going to be open auditions until somebody wins a role there. So somebody step up. I thought Jaquelin Roy, I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
He had a sack. He had a couple nice moments. I didn't notice Farms a lot today. I don't know if that's good or bad. I have to see on the tape. Equale is still Equale, not a good run defender. He's really only a pass rusher. He's a guy who is probably ideally your third or fourth defensive tackle, who's a rotational guy, but right now he just has to play a ton.
I thought he played pretty well. I mean, obviously not every play, but he had a few nice plays in the running game. He did a nice job getting after the passer, I thought. He had, 9 total tackles today with a half a sack and a TFL. So I thought, I think that he had a good day today. Now, again, is he going to be like a guy you want starting? No, but as a depth D tackle, I think he brings a lot to the table.
Yeah. Somebody in the comments asking about Taki. We don't know exactly when he's going to be back, but he started practicing, so it could be as soon as next week. I think he will probably help too. Like if you can have Mapu and Taki taking some of those coverage responsibilities where Tavai has had issues, then Tavai can be the henchman, the guy who can play on the line for you and kind of be opposite Anthony Jennings, run defender. And I think that makes life a lot easier for you all around. So
100%.
Yeah, I do want to see I don't love how many yards the Dolphins got today with that quarterback in the game.
Yeah.
I understand the defense is injured. We do force turnovers, so it's not all bad. And you keep them off the board. I mean, you only allow 15 points, so it's hard to be that upset with the overall performance. But I think I would have liked, more 3 and outs. I think Miami still got 24 first downs in this game, that's crazy high.
What I don't like, and I don't know if they're worried about their depth in the secondary or their inability to get after the passer, but they just play so passive. Sometimes they play that deep zone and they're not aggressive. And it's like,
yeah.
you know, when Christian Gonzalez is a stud. He's a stud. When he plays man-to-man, lockdown, man-to-man coverage, you're not catching the ball on him. Full stop. You're not. Right? You're not catching the ball on him. So, yeah, maybe you're worried about the other two guys, but golly, like, just give them something, would you? It's frustrating. It's frustrating when they play this kind of backed off coverage. It drives me a little crazy.
Well, and that hurts their run defense too. You know,
Yep.
that's the less bodies down low to try to fight against the
Right.
run, more double teams.
Yep.
I will say, you know, we talk about the pass defense. Obviously, Gonzalez was good. I thought their man coverage was good all day long. I didn't really have any issues there. And Uche had a sack on what I thought was a really nice drawn up thing from Covington. This is something Evan Lazar has been harping on for a little bit now, is that when they've been rushing the passer, they've been rushing with just 4 guys and the safety's deep, which means that if anybody on that line messes up and the quarterback's able to get out of the pocket, there's nobody available to help tackle him. And on one of the third downs, they brought 5-man pressure where Christian Ellis was kind of the 5th man, and he wasn't aggressive, and he's just sitting there waiting, trying to make sure that you keep contained. And the presence of that also allows your other rushers to tee off, and that's where Uche got the sack on a second effort. And that was all right. This is improvement. This is some of this stuff starting to work together. And you know, their third down defense has been one of the worst. I think it was 31st in the NFL coming into this. And they held them to, I think, 2 of 11 on third down. So I mean, that's props. That's an improvement from the defense.
Right. And you know, look, it wasn't all bad defensively. Again, you allowed 15 points. Like, it's not that bad, you know. But yeah, they did also miss 2 field goals. So, you know, it's not, and one of those field goals, and look, I do think that it's certainly possible that Schooler would have blocked the second field goal, but the ball was snapped on the ground.
One of the worst snaps I've ever seen.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, look, I don't know exactly where we go from here. But I mean, especially next week is going to be real tough against a Houston team that's like solid. That's rough stuff, man. It's going to be a tough game.
Houston has been, you know, we talk about the Patriots and the issues with the penalties. The Texans are awful with that. Coming into this week, their average third down distance is over 10 yards. I don't know where it is after the game against the Bills. Like they're going backwards. The problem is they get to third down and they're converting because Stroud is really good there. But there's a ton of penalties, miscues. They keep trying to run the ball and they haven't been good at it. So like, obviously, I don't know if they're going to be able to compete with Houston. I do think there's a path though. That's a team that is also sloppy with a younger quarterback, and defensively you might be able to match up. And you know, you get lucky, you improve somewhere. I thought, you know, today was rough for them on offense because you got a lot of plays called back and guys hurt, and you're figuring things out. Bourne's still very much on a pitch count right now. What does it look like in a week when the guys are gelling a little bit more? I think it can be better, and that makes me feel better than I did last week about this team. You know, we said it that this team isn't about wins and losses; it's about growth. It's things that you don't win this one when you had a chance to, but you play like this and build on it a little bit, there's going to be opportunities for wins. You play Miami again. You got to play a Tennessee team that has been not great. You play a Jacksonville team that has not been good. And it looks like they're actively trying to lose most football games that they're playing. And, you know, you play like the Chargers. They're not anything special at this point.
Nope.
Divisional games, who knows? And, you know, we'll see what happens with injuries and stuff down the stretch. You know, you play the Bears with Caleb Williams. We don't know what that game is going to look like. So, yeah, I think we're finally starting to see a foundation set at least.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we'll see. Ultimately, right, we'll see what happens. But it's very frustrating to kind of see what's going on right now. And you just look at it and just think, all right, can we get these young guys in here? Can we see some? And the growth, I think, is the biggest thing. I think Jalen Polk Some people were saying today that they thought Jalen Polk ran some lazy routes. I didn't necessarily see that. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I didn't necessarily see that. There was one play where, man, Brissett had Polk open, NFL open, right? He just waited. He waited like 4 extra steps for Polk, and by the time he threw it to him, he's out of bounds. And it's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, that. So that's the frustrating stuff. Is you just feel like he can't get these guys the ball, even when they're open, and that's really frustrating. So,
I have some numbers on the offense. We want to do an ad break and then come back with those.
Yeah, I like that. So, all right, this one is going to be for PrizePicks. Of course, that PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Okay. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. Now, again, as I said, you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks on PrizePicks. All right. And PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live. Now, for me this week, I hope you didn't follow me this week. You got to start fading me this week. What you got to do is you just got to pick the opposite of everything I pick because I'm freaking terrible with this. Luckily, Matt's keeping me alive here, but I'm just so bad at this. Today, I had Braylon Allen for more than 33.5 rushing yards. Missed that one. Roma Dunze more than 2.5 receptions. Got that one. And Mark Andrews for less than 22.5 receiving yards. Missed that one as well. Mark Andrews finally caught a few passes today. But nevertheless, that's what you're going to do. What you're going to do is you're going to sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Now, PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your league. So again, you're going to download the app today. You're going to use the promo code CLNS and get $50 off instantly when you play your first lineup. Again, download the app PrizePicks. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game.
Okay.
All right. Numbers. Let's hear them.
We got pressure numbers.
Oh, baby.
These are not final. This is from Doug Kite. He's got them from PFF.
Okay.
In first place is center Nick Leverett with 9 pressures allowed.
Mother of God.
Yeah, that is something else. Following that up, your silver medal here, Michael Wenu, 3 pressures allowed. Bronze medalist, DeMontre Jacobs, with 2 pressures allowed. Michael Jordan had 1. Antonio Gibson had 1. You hear who I did not name there? Left tackle Vidarian Lowe.
That's right, baby.
No pressure. He says they have 16 pressures on 40 dropbacks, which still not good, but that would be a season low pressure rate.
Absolutely.
That matches the eye test of what I was seeing a lot more than the next gen stats saying 50-something%.
I would agree with that.
And there were a couple of pressures today that I thought were either coverage sacks or Brissett just not seeing things properly.
Well, and that's one of those things for me that I look at and I wonder, I wonder, how many of those pressures were on the offensive line, right? Are those just pressures that are on the offensive line, or are we looking at anything, right? I just thought there was some plays where it's just like, just throw the ball. Like, why are we still holding on to the football? And that's, that's one of those things for me, man, that I just, again, the offensive line, I think looked a little bit better. If we can get them to take a few steps in the right direction. I think that's a good thing. Now, DeMontre Jacobs, is he the long-term answer at right tackle? No. But is Vidarian Lowe the long-term answer at left tackle? No. But can he be the answer at left tackle this year? I do think he can if he can stay healthy.
Yeah,
And
we're
this
looking
is
for
the type
Band-Aids right now.
well, really, and look, this is the type of thing that you're looking for. You want to see them develop young players. Vidarian Lowe is a young player. If they can develop him into a guy that can be a passable left tackle, that's a roster spot. That's a really important roster spot. The amount of times that the offensive linemen get injured, you need good backups. So even if Vidarian Lowe, in the long term is just a backup tackle, that's really important. And I think that's something for me that, like, if they can continue to build on that, then we maybe feel pretty good about it. Now, are you still drafting a left tackle in the first round? I think so, unless for some reason unless you look at Vidarian Lowe and say, like, by the end of the year, he's like incredible. I don't think that's going to happen. But if that's the case, then fine, don't draft the guy. But I think you're probably going to draft a guy in the first round, and now Vidarian Lowe becomes your swing tackle. And I think I feel okay about that. And so look, I don't know. We'll see. But honestly, I just think that the Patriots, like, they at least showed some competence. That's really the word we want to look for. They showed a little bit of competence on the offensive line, and that's something we really haven't seen a lot from this year. And if they can continue playing like that, and I think a big part of that is that Mike Owen is at right guard. DeMontre Jacobs as good of a right tackle as Mike Owen? Probably not. But is Mike Owen a better right guard than Lane Robinson? Absolutely. So you get a huge upgrade at right guard, and you get a guy at right tackle that, okay, you get to take a little bit of a downgrade, but I'm okay with that because you got such a big upgrade at right guard, and you have Ron Wenu, who's your best offensive lineman, playing in the spot that you should be playing. So, anyways, that's the way the offensive line looks, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, and there's no City So or Layden Robinson out there, and I think you'll notice with that, the pressures. You got a lot of pressures allowed by the center, but almost all of those for him either losing blocks or things like that. When you have Onwenu and Michael Jordan at guard, they just know how to pick up blitzers better.
Yeah.
And this is still, like, DeMontre Jacobs is 26 years old. This is his second year in the NFL. Michael Jordan's still 25. Vidarian Lowe is 25, I believe. Or Jordan might be 26. They're all like mid-20s. So these guys are young enough that, like, they can, if they develop a little bit, they can be probably not starters for you, but if those are your first three off the bench for the offensive line next year, with the way they've played, I think you feel good. And then you're going to see what happens at the center position. I want to see Hudson get some reps at some point. Onwenu at right guard. And, you go to free agency and look for some stuff. You go to the draft and you look for some stuff. And this also does too. If Vidarian Lowe looks passable for you at left tackle by the end of this season and gets better, obviously this is just one performance. So they're going to play good defense next week. They're going to play good defense in the Jets in 3 weeks. We'll see if this continues. But if he continues to play well, let's say you're sitting there with the number 1 or the number 2 pick, and there's not a tackle you like, and nobody wants to trade up because the quarterbacks aren't that good. And Travis Hunter, for example, is sitting there, or Mason Graham, or the corner there from Michigan, who somehow I'm forgetting the name. One of those guys who you think can be a playmaker for you at an important position. Well, if you don't think the guys available at tackle are going to fix your left tackle or going to be better than what Vidarian Lowe is bringing for you, draft a guy who can be a playmaker for you at another position. It gives you that flexibility. Raising the floor gives you more options going forward. And this is really, I think the way we should think about this is probably year 0 for this group, the way that they have approached this.
Right.
I know there have been complaints about the team being slow to sign free agents and add from the outside, and I understand that. I think their goal is to evaluate what they have first and then be aggressive once they have learned, have the coaches work with everybody, get the feedback, get the development stuff, go from there, and then see what your needs are. So, we'll see what the approach is. Hopefully you guys develop, then you can raise the floor on the team that way, and it gives you a lot of options to have playmakers in the draft and next free agency.
Right. Well, and look, I think that you're kind of spot on there. And again, as far as the offensive line is concerned, and people have been getting on Wolf about the offensive line, there was no one out there. So whatever. I like that. Draft and develop. Draft and develop. Draft and develop. Draft and develop. I'm okay with that. Right now, if you're able to get a guy that you think can be an impact player right away, absolutely. I'm okay with that, right? Whatever position that is. If you feel like you can sign a guy that you feel like can be an impact player, they obviously thought that Calvin Ridley could be that type of guy for them, which is why they went hard after him. They thought Brandon Ayuk could be that type of guy for him, which is why they went hard after him. Neither of those things worked out. What are you going to do? Sometimes those things don't work out, and it's just the way it is. And so, that's the way it goes. And Old Man Mob, just points it out. Like, all the tackles that the Pats teams are linked to, benched, hurt, not playing well. Just like every single one of them. Every single one of them.
Speaking of, Tyler Guyton just got hurt for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Which is another name that we were, I don't know if we were connected to it, but at least fans were interested in him for New England. Either top of the second round or trading up to go get him. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. So, that's one of those interesting things. The Patriots supposedly we're going to make that deal with Buffalo at 28 and Guyton went 29. So would they have taken Guyton? Would they have taken Leggett? Would they have taken, who knows?
He looked decent for Carolina last week. I didn't see this week. I didn't watch a second of that. Carolina.
I think he had one catch this week or something like that. So
yeah, I don't know about that. But yeah. And for this game, there weren't, there weren't any injuries out of this one, right?
No, really. Ramondre went down at one point. He was holding his shin.
He said that isn't an issue, though.
Just a bruise. I think it was just a bruise of some sort. Yeah. So, which is good because he came back in right after that, too. So,
what did you think about the way Gerard Mayo handled that with Ramondre this week?
I thought it was perfect. I thought it was the right way to handle it. You want to make a statement, right? So you take the start away from him. Does the start really matter? Not necessarily, right? But you're saying you're not starting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then he gets in and you give him the opportunity again. He's still your best running back. And so you say, you know what? We're going to have you play because you're our best running back. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I do wish that they had given the ball to Antonio Gibson a little bit more. I think you see some of the speed and burst that he has. I wish that they had kind of used him a little bit more. That's not just because I started him in a few fantasy leagues, but it's partially tied to that. But I would have liked to have seen him get the ball a little bit more. I do like the way they handled it with Ramondre. It wasn't just. I also think, and Mayo, I think, says a little bit too much sometimes in the media. I do like the fact that he came out and said he's not starting. Not just that he didn't get the start, but he actually physically came out and said he's not starting because we can't handle it. We can't have that type of crap, right?
And I
like that.
Yeah, I'm fully on board with you. I think it was a very nice blend of making it clear that this is unacceptable, which I'm sure Ramondre knows anyway,
right.
And also getting him on the field to play because he is a good playmaker when he has the ball in his hands.
Right.
And this is, I agree about saying it to the press too, because that's, you want to hurt the pride, I think, a little bit. Let them know, hey, letting everybody know that because you made a mistake, you are not getting the privilege of the title of a starter this week. And that is something that you're going to have to own because of your performance. But also, you're good. We want you in this. We're going to give you opportunities to show that we can still trust you, and we're going to go from there. Like, I thought that was...
Yeah.
And I do agree about Mayo talking to the press. I think last week or 2 weeks ago, last week, he gave, the 98.5 call the day of, and he was talking about their game plan and about how many short passes they're going to throw. And it's like, that's too much. I don't like that. Even if it is obvious that that's going to be the game plan, that level of specificity is not needed. And I don't think anybody's going to get a competitive advantage, especially not this year with this team.
Right. But still.
When it's games for real, big time games when this team is competitive, hopefully, You can't be doing that. You just can't.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, so we'll see. I thought that was handled well. I will say another bright spot on the team. I mentioned. I don't even know who I mentioned first. Oh, Mapu is who I mentioned first. Another guy in the secondary, Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez he's a dog. He's a dog, man. OBJ straight up ran that route for OBJ. Just straight up ran the route for him.
That was
and,
freaky.
Knew it was coming, undercut it, diving interception, just a phenomenal play. Almost had another pick in the end zone. Really nice play by Tyreek Hill to knock the ball away from him. But almost another pick in the end zone. Tyreek ended with a decent amount of catches, but Gonzo really wasn't in coverage against him in those ones. I know he was technically, I'm sure, like the closest defender on a few of them, but they were playing that kind of soft zone on a few of those catches. When he goes man to man against someone, it's over. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I've been impressed with him. He's just so smooth. He also comes up and plays the run pretty well. And so, he's a stud. He's a star. And the Patriots don't have many of those guys. So the fact that they have one on defense is really good. Do they have another few on defense? I'm not sure, but he's definitely a a star, which is good.
They have probably like 5 guys on this defense who I think are borderline Pro Bowlers, and 4 of them were missing today.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing, and I agree with you. And Bentley, I think, doesn't get nearly enough credit. I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. And so, look, is it perfect? Is he, he's not Fred Warner or anything like that, but he's a damn good player. And so.
Yeah,
I like
including a guy like Keon White now, who has also blossomed, and he had a couple of rough moments today. Those 12 penalties, 2 of those were his, and they were on the same drive. Both of them were just.
You don't often see that happen.
Yeah, which is that's tough. He needs to be better, but he's a young player. Those might be the only 2 he gets like that all year long, and hopefully that's the case.
Yeah. All right. Explain. So,
are we doing
obviously the pole catch isn't a catch at the end, right? But explain the pole catch to the people, because people are not pleased about it. People think it should be a catch. It isn't, but explain why it isn't, please.
The NFL rule on this, which I will say, I went through the rule book trying to figure out exactly what year the specific language was added to the rule book, and it wasn't in 2022 as far as I could tell. And I couldn't find a 2023 copy, so I don't know what year it was changed. But, this may have been one of those things where this has been the standard for a while, and they just hadn't explicitly written it. But when you catch the ball, if you land and your feet just come down like you're stepping, your entire foot has to be in bounds for it to count. If you come down and your entire feet aren't coming down normally, if you are just tapping them, then only the part that taps needs to be in bounds. So, in theory, you can heel tap, but what Polk did was a full step, and his heel just happened to come down first, and that was in bounds. I don't really have a feeling one way or the other on this rule. I think it makes logical sense. I think if you also expanded it to make what Polk did a catch, I wouldn't have an issue with that. I'd write it either way. But by the letter of the rule, he very clearly, his full foot comes down and half of it is out of bounds. And I think, Polk not necessarily knowing that was the rule when he's looking at the replay, I think does concern me a little. He's a rookie, so I get that. But you want them to be familiar with that stuff. I mean, you're a receiver. Your job is to catch the ball. You should know intimately what the NFL rules are for what is a catch. Like, that is something you should know like the back of your hand, or at least as well as is possible with the NFL rules.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I think the fact that it's not a catch comes down to the quarterback play. You need the throw just needs to be shorter. He's wide open. There's no reason for the end zone, the end line there, the boundary to even come into play.
Yeah. I agree with. It's a bad throw. 5%, you'd like him to be able to get both feet down. The hard thing about it, and by the way, Matt Chatham was talking about this, on Twitter, and I agree with him, which I think is interesting. What's fascinating about the catch rule, and who the hell knows what a catch is in the NFL, but what's interesting about a catch in the NFL is that if you touch your toe inbounds and you drag the toe from inbounds to out of bounds, it's a catch.
Mm-hmm.
But if you touch your toe inbounds and then your heel hits out of bounds, it's not a catch. And so it's an interesting distinction.
See, what I think
it's an
about
interesting
is
distinction.
if you were, this is what I always come back to with the catch rules. I think about if you were playing on the schoolyard with your friends.
Right.
If you saw what Jalen Polk did when you were playing with your friends, nobody is calling that a catch. Everybody looks at that as you stepped and you landed out of bounds. Sorry. Right. And I think it's one of those things like everybody knows like the difference between a toe drag and just stepping, but it's hard to really write that clearly in a rule. It just has to be a judgment call because it's a no, you know it when you see it kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, and I don't, if they wanted to change the rule, I wouldn't really mind it. He can go either way, but the way it's written, his foot very clearly does fully come down, and part of it is out of bounds. And if he had managed to toe tap there instead and just get the front of his foot down instead, and then he falls to the side, it's a catch. And this is part of the skill of being a receiver, being able to manipulate your feet in such a way that you can get them in bounds.
Correct. Yeah, 100%. And I think, right, if he, as he's falling, instead of falling straight back, turns his body, then only his toe lands in bounds. All that has to happen is his toe lands in bounds, and then he can fall that way, right? Or shoot, the way he jumps is he jumps up and then he just drops to the ground so that his knee hits the ground first. Whatever, like I don't care how it is. And look, I'm not going to hold that against Jalen Polk too much. I wish he had been able to figure something out, but he wasn't. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and I think, our concern with Jalen Polk has never been really his ability to catch the ball. He had 2 plays today, including that one where he probably should have made the catch on it. It's probably his ability to separate. And I'm not super worried about the separation right now. He just had a couple drops today and a couple balls he got his hands on that, couldn't come down with. And
right.
I feel better about that because he has good hands. So odds are that's going to be fine down the road. And I think once he gets a quarterback who's a little bit more trusting and willing to zing it in there over the middle to him at points, he had a play where he won on a slant route, but it's a tight window and you got to get it in there before the linebacker comes over, and Brissett just doesn't get there in time, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. He's not massively open, but he's got good hands and you got to trust them. So you toss him the ball and he'll make a play on it.
Agreed. All right, let's do one more ad break and then we'll just a few kind of final thoughts. A little bit on the coaching staff potentially, and the way that they handled the end of the first half. I want to chat about a bit.
Yeah. All right. I'm here to talk about game time with you guys, and I love going to football games. I like going to baseball games too. It's MLB playoff season. Obviously, the Red Sox aren't in it, but there are a lot of really good games. Mets Phillies is a fun series so far. I love going to live sporting events, especially in the fall. Now the weather is cool. You can throw on the flannel and head down there and enjoy some great weather outside with your friends or family or whatever. Now you can get there even easier with GameTime. They have a new feature called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can pull up GameTime right now, look ahead to next week's game. You want to see the Patriots in their throwbacks against the Texans next Sunday. Perhaps the debut of Drake May as the starter. We will see. They got a ton of tickets available right now. You can hit all-in pricing, and the price you see is what you're going to pay. You can go to GameTime Deals, like I said, and it'll filter out all the fluff for you. You can just find the cheapest tickets, the good value seats. There's a lot of tickets available for this game if you want to head down there. So head on over to GameTime to check that out. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it? GameTime.
All right, so the end of the first half, and this is, look, Belichick talks about it all the time, and one of the things that Belichick talked about, and Mayo has mentioned it as well, because it's a Belichick saying, but what you can't deal with on your team, players, but what you can't deal with are error repeaters, guys that make the same mistake multiple times. It's something that you can't have. You just can't have it. And at the end of the first half, once again, the Patriots made the same exact mistake they've made before. They did it against Seattle, did it again today, and I just feel like I don't understand what it is that they're doing. I don't understand. You run, you pick up a few yards on first down, and then you go pass, and you give them the ball back with a minute left to go in the game. And it's like you're still in the shadow of your end zone. Waste some more time, run the clock again, and then see what happens. It drove me completely insane. And then to top it off, Bryce Behringer, for the first time all year, shanks a punt. So they get the ball at the 40-yard line. So they're 40 yards away from a touchdown now. They get easily into field goal range. Dak throws one of the worst interceptions you'll ever see. Oh, my Lord, what a terrible throw by Dak in the end zone. Anyways, they get the ball at the 40-yard line, and they have a chance to score a touchdown and take the lead, or at least cut the lead to one. And thankfully, they had that horrible snap that prevented them from doing that. But I don't understand what they were trying to do there. It made absolutely no sense, and that was really frustrating for me.
See, what I will say is this: I'll take the other side on this just to explain what I think they're thinking. We have complained as Patriots fans for 3 years now, maybe even longer, about the team never being aggressive before the half and just trying to take the clock down instead of getting into scoring range, or they're playing for a field goal. They're not even going to try for a touchdown. I appreciate that they are trying to be aggressive and they are trying to move the ball. Problem is they just haven't been able to execute it. You got to run on first down. It sets you up into 2nd and 3. I like that as a passing spot, because that's a spot where you could run or pass, and that makes it a little bit easier for the offensive line to block. Why you're not running on 3rd and 3 there, I question that a little bit. But this was kind of a theme for them. You go back to the first possession of the game, 7-yard run on the first play. Take advantage of it by passing on the second one. You call quick game. They're sitting all over on the right side. You come back to the left side. Pop slips coming out of a break, and Polk is covered. Brissett's got nowhere to go with the ball, and he gets sacked. And now you're in a situation where you have to pass. That's what it felt like a lot today.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's easy to blame the play calling and the coaching there, and I do think there's a portion of it. I think you should probably be running on 3rd down there, and I think you should probably know your personnel a little bit better. But there is a point where it does just come down to player execution. The players know what the situation is, that you kind of want the clock to keep going because you don't want the other team to get good field position.
Right.
Brissett, this is one of the few times where it might be better to take a sack instead of throwing the ball away or throwing an incompletion. But he's going for, a deep shot to a very well-covered Jalen Polk on 2nd down. Why? It's 2nd and 3. Why is that the decision that you're making? The quarterback who's been afraid to push the ball down the field all season, why is this the spot where you're picking to push?
Right.
Yeah, and that's, and the punt from Behringer. Man, what an awful time to have a bad punt. And thank goodness the Dolphins, backed their way out of position there.
100%. Right. And that's, those are the frustrating things where you look at it and just say, like, man, you had a chance, and you almost blew it in that moment. Right. Luckily they didn't, but you feel like you almost blew it in that moment. And, that's frustrating. So, but anyways, That's I, you know, yeah. So we'll see,
Can I,
but
can we
it's
talk about
frustrating.
can we talk about the end of game sequence too with the play calling? Because I know there's been a lot of discussion about the fact that you get inside the 15-yard line with your three timeouts left,
Yeah.
and you don't run again. I went back and rewatched it because I came away from it and I wasn't surprised that they didn't run, and I was surprised that was the discourse. So I went back to watch the plays to see.
Okay.
And looking at it, there was only one of those plays I would have even considered replacing with a run, and that was the first down call, which was the throwaway from Brissett. They tried to
Yeah.
call something quick game and nothing was open. Second down was the play to Polk that should have been the game winning or go ahead touchdown. You can't fault the play call when it gets
When it's
mostly
wide
gets
open.
executed well.
Yeah.
And then the third down and fourth down, the Dolphins were just bringing all out blitz both times. You're not running into that. That's
Correct.
stupid. So I think you can fault Van Pelt for not necessarily having good answers for that blitz, because you have to be prepared for that in that situation. Third or fourth and long in the red zone with a blitz, it's a tough spot to be in. Fine, that's a great time for a screen pass if you want to try a quick bubble screen or something, or some kind of a slant, something over the middle. And they didn't go to that. And first down, I think you could absolutely run and start getting the clock going. It's just, they did get the ball back at the end. They saved the timeouts. They get the ball back at the end. And in theory, they get the chance for the Hail Mary. I don't know if that's what you want to prioritize there. Maybe you do just want to prioritize getting the highest quality out of that. But
Right.
they just did not execute against that blitz twice at the end. And it's your last offensive play before giving the ball back there is Brissett with a free rush or just tossing the ball up kind of to no one.
Yeah.
And that is the type of play where there's going to be a free rusher there, just the math of it. May's going to be a lot better in that circumstance, or at least he was in college. He can handle the free rusher better and calmer to find somebody down the field that he can throw to.
Yeah, you would think. And again, it's hard because you kind of go back and forth on what exactly you want and what you're looking for. But yeah, I thought the play calling was fine in those situations. Would I have liked them to run once? I think Gerard Mayo in his comments at the end of the game clearly thought that they should have at least ran once. Do I think that they should have run on first down? I probably do. If I were I'll tell you right now, if I were an opposing defense, I'd blitz on every single play. Every play.
Yeah.
Why not? What are we gonna do? What are you gonna do? And especially when you're playing Brissett, he can't get away from it, right? And and you've confused the offensive line quite a bit. And so, I think if it's me, that's what I would do. And so, and listen, we've talked about it before. As bad as Brissett has been, and Brissett's been bad. He's been bad. But as bad as he's been, you still got to respect the hell out of the guy, man. He takes a beating every week, and he took some real hard hits today, and he just keeps peeling himself off the ground and getting back up, and and look, I mean, so you got to at least tip your hat to the guy, but man, it sucks.
Yeah, he's there until they feel like Drake May is ready enough to put in, or they have no other choice. That's it, and he's doing the job well. Do what they ask, and I appreciate that. And hopefully, when May comes in, this extra time to develop him will show right away. Most of the other rookie quarterbacks are playing well. Jaden Daniels I thought today might be a humbling experience for him against a Browns defense that has been good, and 34 points. No issues for Daniels there. Caleb Williams had maybe his best game as a pro.
I would say definitely, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he looked excellent. And Bo Nix is Bo Nix when the Broncos are winning. I don't know how much he has to do with that, but you see the clip of him getting yelled at by Sean Payton on the sideline? Oh my God. That Sean Payton looks like he's miserable to play for at this point. That does not seem enjoyable.
No, it does not.
It kind of feels like he's just living off his reputation. The Broncos have not impressed me that much.
No, they're not a good team. I will say, crushed it. I'm so excited about stupid. Oh God, dude. The knockout pool. I was in a knockout pool to begin with, right?
Mhm.
Lost. I had two entries in the first knockout pool.
Mhm.
$10 a piece. Lost week 2. Lost week 3. Out both those. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Well, meanwhile, there's another knockout pool, and there's guys at work. They're like, all right, there's another knockout pool. They're doing a round 2 of the knockout pool because everyone's already out. It was week 3. Everyone was already out. It's like, all right, cool. So you can buy back after week 1. Well, last week I picked the Jets in week 4. They lost. I was like, you kidding me, dude? Like they lost to Cleveland. Cleveland's the worst team in the league. They lost to Cleveland. Unbelievable. So I'm like, all right, fine. Okay. I bought back in and I picked Seattle today. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. I'm like, forget it. I'm all set. I'm done. I've picked a loser every week the last 4 weeks.
That's
I'm like,
impressive.
that's enough.
Did you
It's
see
just
how that
unbelievable.
Seahawks, you see how the Seahawks
I
game
sure
ended?
did. I sure did. Yep, sure did.
Blocked field goal return for a touchdown.
Unbelievable, dude.
Did you see how the Giants pulled that off, by the way?
Yeah, he did the Jamie Collins leap.
But not that. They had another guy come in and hold the long snapper down. And so that he could get around. And they did it in like the one way that is legal to do it.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not, you can't like land on top of the guy. You have to stay away from the head and neck. And like there's timing aspects, there's all kinds of stuff. But as long as if you're like away from him, but you put your hands on his back so he can't get up, it's legal. And that's what they did. The guy gets around and they block it. And the guy who blocked it, did you see? He drilled the kicker.
Did he? That's Isaiah
You
Simmons.
watch
Right? I love that guy.
He does not have to, but he lays a full shoulder into the kicker, which is just so disrespectful.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
What a day in the NFL.
Yeah, it was a weird day. Lot of crazy endings, a lot of really good finishes. You know, the Jets game came down to the very end. Aaron Rodgers was a pick in the red zone, I believe. At the end of the game, a lot of good, really good, exciting games. Again, even the Patriots game that didn't finish well. Obviously, the Patriots lost, but was an exciting game, right? I thought, and
it was
so
close. Weird things happened. It was like
right.
It wasn't high quality football, but it was entertaining.
No, right. Ravens, Jaguars, like those are all good games, man. Bills, Texans was a great game. So like
Joe, bro, man, the Bengals have put up so many points the last couple of weeks, and it's not turning into wins. That defense is so bad,
brutally bad. And then of course you have the Cardinals with a big upset today on the 49ers. It was a huge one. So
shout out Chad.
Yeah, Chad Ryland with the big kick, and and listen, it was a nice day from Chad Ryland. Of course, I know Joey Slye missed a bad field goal today, 33 yards or whatever, but he's been really good. Slye's been good, and look, I do hope that Chad Ryland does really well there. Some guys kickers especially. It's so the game is so mental. Sometimes when they just go somewhere else, all of a sudden they're good. There's no rhyme or reason for it. It's just literally because, their head is just in a better spot. And so, I wish him the best.
Yeah, I hope that works out for him. It's awesome for him to have that. And the Cardinals, I felt like a big win for the Cardinals and a really tough loss for the 49ers.
Yeah.
By the way, I know I've seen some talk, it's easy to be depressed, think that the Patriots didn't win this game because in a lot of ways, this is the most winnable game on the calendar. It's frustrating to look at it as a missed opportunity, but I think there's a real easy way to be optimistic about this because the offense should get better. I think the offensive line found the combination. Kendrick Bourne is only going to play more, and your most significant change for the team has yet to come, and that's a Drake May playing. If Drake May is good, this team goes up a tier in who they can compete with immediately once that happens. If he's even just an above average rookie, that is going to make things a lot better right away, and that could happen this very month. And the schedule has a lot of competitive games on it. Weird things happen in the NFL. Who thought this team was going to beat the Bills last year and still their last home victory?
Yeah.
Bills were a much better team than the Patriots last season, but on one Sunday they weren't. there's going to be opportunities for the Patriots to do that a lot down the stretch here, and they'll get back a couple pieces on defense in the safety room, and hopefully young players continue to grow. And the growth was the name of the game. You want to be a better team in November than you were in October, better team in October than you were in September, and hopefully December into January is when you're playing your best football, and most importantly, what pieces you have for the next season.
Well, and that's all it comes down to, right? And again, if you're a Patriots fan, I know we want to win. Of course we want to win. But, do we really want to win? Is the best thing for the team right now is to win? No, it isn't. Mm-hmm. And so the best thing for the team right now is to lose and get a good draft pick. That's the best thing for the team right now, and that sucks. That's not a good position to be in. That's not anything that's none of us want that. Mm-hmm. But that's what's best for it right now. And so the growth, of course, is what we want to see. But the growth mixed with a team that loses and gets a high draft pick. I want to pick in the top 5. That's what I want, is a pick in the top 5. Mm-hmm. We need a pick in the top 5. And whether we draft a corner or a wide receiver or an offensive tackle, we need a stud. We need a stud guy. Christian Gonzalez is a stud. We drafted a stud 2 years ago. Drake May, it looks like he has a chance to be a stud. We don't know. We're going to see when he gets out there, but you can see it, right? And so, that's when you start to build on things, right? We need that pick, and who knows? Maybe we get the number 1 pick and someone does something stupid like Carolina did with the Bears. Who knows? Maybe that happens. And you can turn your team around in a quick period of time because you did what you did. Right? The Bears are in the position that they're in because they made that pick with Carolina. They drafted now their offensive line has not been good this year, but you draft a right tackle in Darnell Wright, who people thought extremely highly of. I still think is a good player. He's had an up and down year this year, but I think he's still a very good player. Mm-hmm. And you get DJ Moore back in the deal. You draft Tyreek Stevenson, who's a pretty good corner. And, and then, you get Caleb Williams the next year. So it works out for you, right? Well, in this situation, you move back to, 8 or 9 or whatever. Hopefully still get an offensive lineman, or again, take a top flight corner or take a top flight wide receiver, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then you get that first round pick of that team next year. And then maybe they have to give you something else extra, like Carolina did with DJ Moore. So, I think it opens up opportunities for them. The worse you are, the better the pick you have. And honestly, this year doesn't matter anyways. So that's the way I feel about that. So we'll see.
I think that's a good spot to leave it.
Yeah, agreed. So, all right, we'll be back Wednesday night, as always, with you guys. And we'll be back Sunday. Again, it'll be Sunday, Monday Night Football, or Sunday Night Football, I'm sorry. Probably be actually at halftime, assuming that the game starts on time, unlike tonight. So,
yeah.
But we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you to most of the chat for coming through and, and sharing their thoughts. I will say, if you're being disrespectful, we will just straight up ban you. We don't care. We don't care.
Yeah.
So be respectful. Say whatever you want. Hate on the Patriots. That's totally fine. But if you're not respectful, your ass getting kicked. So,
yes,
that's all. So anyways, well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we will talk to you on Wednesday night.